and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. Today I've got some tips for you on choosing multicoloured yarn or self-striping yarn. Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. We are talking multicoloured yarn today, and there are so many options out there. I thought we'd have a look just at a few tips to help you pick the ones that you want to knit with so that you actually end up with a project that you're really happy with. Now, if you have got a really big yarn stash sat there at home, I've got something for you at the end of this video that I know you're going to want to be part of. So do stick around and I will let you know more about that later. So the first tips I've got for you about choosing colour changing, self-striping or multicoloured yarn is very simply to go and have a look at the patterns. You may not want to knit the patterns, but the patterns are really great clues to how the yarn will actually knit up. If you haven't got a friend who used it before, or there aren't many samples in the yarn store, you can actually look through the pattern books and the individual patterns for the different yarns. You can see how the yarn works, how quickly it changes colour, how many stripes there are and what different colours there are. And it really gives you an idea, the feel of what it will look like when you've knitted it up as well. If you then find books, then you will have all of the different colourways too. You'll see all of the different choices of the yarn colours all the way through the books, and it will give you a great idea of exactly what it is that you want from the yarn that you're choosing. Because you may look at the ball of yarn and go, well, it's kind of blue and I can see a bit of orange in there, but then you knit it up and you realise that there's cream and there's pink and there's purple in there too, which isn't quite what you wanted. So looking at pattern books like this gives you a much better idea of exactly what it is you're going to get from knitting up the yarn that you're choosing. So that's the first tip I've got for you. Now you can just expand that a little bit and go and have a look at what other knitters online are doing. You can go through projects on Ravelry, and you can go through Instagram to see what other knitters are using and what they're making from the different yarns. A lot of the time there will be hashtags for particular yarns, as if it's a very popular one. You'll also get an idea of how it's knitted up with different stitch patterns too. So as we go through Instagram, if you are specifically looking for something like knitting up multicoloured socks, for example, you can look up those hashtags too. So you can say hashtag sock yarns, hashtag sock knitting, and you will see many of those with multicoloured yarns, simply because it's a lot easier to use them if you want a multicoloured sock than it is to sit there and stripe them. So that is another tip. Go and look on Instagram through the different hashtags. Now, the next tip I've got for you may seem very obvious, but try it. Knit it up for yourself. Now, for this, I would suggest, if you're looking to knit a jumper or a long scarf or something, get one ball of yarn and knit it up. If you are likely to be knitting your finished project with 100 stitches on the needle, put 100 stitches on the needle and knit for an hour or so. You'll just get an idea of how it stripes, how the multicoloured yarn actually looks in a finished piece. It won't give you the full effect, but it will give you a really good idea of what it will look like. And if you like what you've done, then just carry on knitting, because that's your finished piece. So then you just need to go and get some more yarn and you can carry on knitting. But if you don't like it, then you've only paid out for one ball of yarn, and you know from then on you can go and find something else that might suit better. And you can also do this in a much longer term way. You can think about the vision for when you want to knit in 5 or 10 years time. Pick up these different multicoloured yarns, knit with them, make sure you've got photos of the finished projects. You can even write down how well it knits up, whether you're happy with the finished result. You can write all sorts of notes down, and this can be really helpful for you. This yarn could well be available in 3 or 4 years time still, and you may still be able to get hold of that same yarn colourway. So it's really helpful to have these notes. And just experiment, because I love knitting up things. Just for an example, I love knitting up scarves with different yarns, and I'll show you these now. I've got all of these different tassel scarves that I've created, and I just thought I'd test them in different yarns, because I thought, well, I like this yarn that I tried it with first, but I'll just try it in a different colourway to see how that looks, and then I'll test the same pattern with different yarns and see how that looks too. And you can see that it looks completely different. It gives such a different effect, and that is more for your notes as well. It's to say, well, I will wear that over the years and I'll remember it. You'll know that this one stripes more quickly than the other one does. That kind of thing can be really, really helpful. Okay, that was lots of tips. So now let's talk about sorting out your yarn stash. I have got a yarn declutter for you. I do this every year in spring. This will be the 3rd year. We're going to very simply take a look at our yarn and declutter it. Go through your stash and we'll all do it together. Now, it happens over a month, so the Facebook group is opening this week and we've got the whole of April to declutter our yarn stash. Do not panic about having to do it in one weekend. I give you little tasks to do each week that will just help you do it in stages so it feels a lot easier. And this is what I love about this yarn declutter, is that we do it together so we keep motivated too. So I'll put the sign up link below. You'll get a couple of emails before we get started, and then of course the Facebook group will open this week and we can start chatting in there. We can start working out exactly how much yarn you have to organise, to declutter and to sort. Okay, I do hope you're joining me for that, and I'll be talking more about yarn. If you'd like to keep track of that, do subscribe and click the little bell for notifications so YouTube will let you know when there's a new video. I bring out a new video every Tuesday, every week. Right, I will see you next week for more yarn conversation. Bye for now. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy knitting.